all your dreams die. Rely on yourself in a way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's doing okay. It is Wednesday. Um, Topic hell. And I don't mean hell as in a very bad day or hell as in it's super hot out. We're going to be talking about hell and what the book says about hell. So, in order to find out what the book says about hell, we probably should go to the book first, and then we'll go from there about whether or not hell is real. Is hell a state of mind? Is hell something that people have made up to scare people into believing into a spaghetti monster? Um, we will tackle all of that. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Hopefully, everyone is doing good. Hope everyone's doing really good. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Making sure that my internet is working here. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. For some reason, the reception is really bad this morning. Really, really bad. And I don't like it. Okay. Let's make sure I find the right one here that I'm thinking about. Okay. Now, um, yeah, it's not unfocused. For some reason, I have zero reception on the hard line that I have downstairs. And I don't know how that's possible because I don't have it on Wi Fi. I've disabled Wi Fi, so I'm not even sure why I have poor reception at all. That's the confusing part to me right now. So, in the meantime, I need to verify something that's loading. Hopefully, it'll load. Hang on a second. Sorry about this. Okay, 28. All right. Now, I'm supposed to have like the top tier internet here, 100 megabytes upload and 100 download and all this nonsense. And every blooming day, I experience this issue. And I'm really starting to get mad because I'm paying for something that I'm not getting from these people. That's angering. Really, really angering. So I'm hoping, really hoping that this kicks out of this nonsense here soon. Anyhow, but go figure we're talking about hell and this is the kind of stuff that has to happen, right? Matthew 10:28. It's hardwired, so I just don't get what's happening here. It's angering. Matthew 10. So we're going to go from verses, let's say 26. Onward. Um, Hang on one more second. Okay. It says, Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, what ye hear in the ear, that preach upon the rooftops. And fear not them who can kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both body and soul. So the question then becomes, send the soul, if he's going to destroy it, send it where? Okay, send it where? Then it goes on, um, destroy both body and soul and body in hell. Okay, in hell. So it has to be a location. Okay, in hell. So if there's a location such as hell that the body gets destroyed in and the soul gets destroyed in, there must be something of a reality to it if we're going to take the word for what it says. Now, when we go to Matthew 13, we find another description. 1340. So let's go to 1340. And therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be in the end of the world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them that do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So now we get a description of the location. First, we have the location, then we have the description of the location. Okay, so far, the Bible seems to be in saying that there is such a place as hell. Um, Now, next one, I'm going to give you as many as possible as I can before we move on to discussing it. Okay, Luke, Luke 12. And I say to my friends, be not afraid of them that can kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. But I forewarn you, whom ye shall fear. Fear him which after he had killed, hath the power to cast into hell. Yea, I say, fear him. We're talking directly about something that he can obviously do. We have a location, we have a description, and we have a reasoning behind it. Okay. So far, we have a triple. Okay. Now, the final one I want to bring forward to you, because like I said, we're going to go to the book first. Okay. It's in Revelation. Revelation 20 and 10. Okay. Now, this is, of course, the place that everyone talks about that's going to be happening these days. Like I said, I'm not concerned about prophecies. We are talking about whether or not hell is real. And the devil that deceived them was cast into a lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Okay. So we have, um, hang on. We have multiple locations where hell is described, hell is confirmed, hell is told what kind of people are going to be there, and hell is told exactly who is going to burn there. Now, if hell is real, because you have to go from the negative first. If hell is real, what exactly is the reasoning for hell? What's God's reasoning for having hell? Is it for fear? Is it so that you would be um, afraid in order to follow God? What's the worst? Because some people might be like, "Oh, that's all I'm going to experience? Hell is just fire eternally? Oh well, I'll keep sinning." Um, so what purpose is hell going to actually serve? Again, this comes down to a fulfillment of who God is. This whole concept of choice on earth and free will is eventually going to come to a head because everything is a built in consequence or reward. Everything has it. Everything has a built in consequence or reward. The reward for following Christ on earth is eternity with Christ. The punishment for not is hell. A lot of churches use hell as a scare tactic for people to be saved. I will tell you this. If hell is the only reason you are following God, that fear will not fully push you into the location you need to be to fully honor God. Knowledge of hell, understanding hell is real, is needed. Granted, very much needed. But the fear of hell does not equate to relationship with God. The fear of hell is just simply that I don't want to go to hell. So, in order for me not to go to hell, I will become a Christian. That's what people are told. Become a Christian, you won't go to hell. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. There are many, he said, that will say on that day, didn't I do this, 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 and this in your name? Those are people who have claimed to be Christian. Many of them will do it because they're afraid of hell. I don't want you to be afraid of hell as your caveat for believing God. I don't I would hope that that is not your logic. Some people are waiting for heaven to be on earth. Some people are waiting for all kinds of results for following God. Okay, so hell is real, heaven's real. Let's start with that base premise. Regardless of where heaven is or what hell is, both have criterias to end up there. And there are many who will think that they're going to end up in one location and unfortunately end up the other. He said that. So, how do you move past the point of hell being an external thing, far off, and that's your reason for following God, to following God because He's God? You should fear God sending you to hell because that is the point of which you realize that the reason for you going to hell is because you're fallen. That is only the beginning of your walk. It should be the beginning. It's like walking down the road and realizing there's a trash compactor at the end of it that's a human sized trash compactor. And you stop walking down the road because you recognize the trash compactor. And adjacent to you going the opposite way is another road without the trash compactor. You stop, you get on the other road, and you walk back. Now, I'm not walking on that other road constantly looking back at the fact that there was a trash compactor at the end of that road. I'm not on that road anymore. Now, people in constant fear of hell are leaving the road to hell and still constantly looking to hell. If you are following God, your eyes should be on God. Period, point blank, end of story. He is the one that's going to send or save you anyway. I keep equating Peter to this because as much as we talk about in church about the walking on water, everyone seems to ignore the fact that Peter was walking on water simply because he kept his eye on Jesus. There's literally no other reason that Peter could walk on water. It wasn't by his ability. His feet weren't broad. He wasn't standing on a he could walk on water because Jesus told him he could come to him and he could do the impossible to get to Jesus. Peter did the impossible getting to Jesus. The instant Peter took his eyes off of Jesus and looked at the impossible, he succumbed to the impossible. You keeping your eyes fixed on hell, 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 hell is not the same. It's like walking and looking down at the water, expecting if you looked at the water, you'd stay afloat. That's not how the system works. You have a charge to keep your eyes on the master. By keeping your eyes on the master, he does the impossible while you're not trying to. So, in terms of hell, hell is real. The water was real. Hell is real. Sinking was real. It was very possible for Peter to sink and die. The one thing Peter had to do was keep his eye on Jesus. For as warm as hell is going to be, the, the worst part about hell is not the fire. The worst part about hell isn't the burning forever in a lake of fire and brimstone. That's not the worst part of hell. That's just locational. Remember too, like with heaven, that your emphasis wouldn't be on lost loved ones and seeing a family member or someone that died because you'll be in heaven and you get to talk to them again. You know how your focus will not be on them. Your focus will be on God. Look, everyone else will be there. Good, good. That's fine. But remember who you're in the presence of. You really think you're going to be distracted by people, and I doubt it. The same way that you being in hell is not so much about the fire, but about the eternal separation of you from the presence of God. That is hell. If you want to experience what hell is on earth, that would be it. Separation of you from God. I would dare say that Adam and Eve experienced the very first tastes of hell when they got kicked out of the garden. They experienced for the very first time a sense of separation from God. They dwelled in a location where he was ever present. They could approach him at any time. They felt him, and then they were removed from his intimate presence and started to experience the decline of life, the turmoils of life, and they experienced the first tastes of hell. It's that separation. Because if the devil is there, obviously God is not. Now remember too, when he got sent, when Jesus went down to retrieve the keys, or rather the dominion of death and hell over his creation, It couldn't hold him. Why couldn't it hold him? The only power hell has is over people who have something to hold it to hold on to. They didn't have anything to hold Jesus to down there. Nothing. It's saved for a certain type of person. Jesus didn't fit that bill. He could go, get in, take the power from them, which is what the sacrifice was supposed to do to begin with. A sacrifice was supposed to remove the power of the sin that was on you and justify you before God. Jesus did that in full, in complete and full measure. Went in, took the keys, all dominion, take it out, and left. The separation of you from God is going to be the ultimate hell. You're just going to be located in fire while you're doing it. Someone asked a question here, so I want to get back to it. Is hell an eternal place for unbelievers, or is it a place where people are destroyed? Just a question, because the New Testament, the actual place is mentioned only once in Peter. It is mentioned as eternal, eternal, which means you're not dying. It's a second death, because what is, okay, let's put it this way. What was the very first introduction of death into mankind? The very first introduction of death to mankind was sin. You separating yourself by disobedience. That's what Adam did. And you separated yourself. That was death. Death was brought in. Remember, because Satan said, "You will not surely die." But God said, "You will. You will die. Surely you will die." Before that, Adam and Eve had zero in their future death as a possibility. The instant they disobeyed, sin stepped in and death with it. Death showed up right away. Okay? So that second death is eternal separation. There will be no coming back from it. There'll be no more sacrifice offered. That is it. You're done. You will be there eternally apart from God. There is no Jesus coming again to save you, no cross. You were offered that chance. You didn't take it. This is the end result. Some people call it a punishment. I call it a consequence. It is a consequence. Now, someone had mentioned Lot's wife in the chat before. Lot's wife is a prime example of the thing I was talking about with the trash compactor. Sodom and Gomorrah was that trash compactor. He called you to leave that area before you actually got consumed by that trash compactor. A lot of Christians today are like Lot's wife, and they're constantly staring at this trash compactor. The difference between people today and Lot's wife is that she looked back longingly at Sodom and Gomorrah. Why would you be looking back? She was there. She was there when the angel showed up. She was there when they asked to do unspeakable things. She was there. She knew everything there was to know about Sodom and Gomorrah. She knew all the depravity of Sodom and Gomorrah. She knew it all. You get word that God is going to destroy it because of its iniquity. And he tells you, do not. He says, do not look back. And you do. So why? Why would you do that? The equation is this. He calls us today to follow. Okay. You decide to follow, but you follow with, you follow in reverse. You're walking on the road, but you're walking backwards. That's the equation. A lot of Christians today, Christians, I use it loosely, they follow God for the idea of God, not for the awe of God. They follow God for the idea of God, not for the awe of it. They're not in awe. You ever seen a peacock, the male ones? You ever just look at it and be like, wow, just mesmerized by it? Or a sunset that just unmatched in your view? That feeling is what we should have viewing and following God. The fear of hell should only have been there to bring you to the realization of where you were headed, to also appreciate the fact that God is saving you from that. That is hell. Hell serves the purpose of dragging you out of your stupor and realizing where you're heading if you don't stop. If you don't relinquish to God, that's the end result. Constantly thinking that hell is where you're going to end up if you then you don't accept salvation that way. Hell is the result of disobedience, not following, and hate towards God. Um, so I want to address this comment real quick. Um, Emotion. Okay, let me ask you a question, Craig. And it's I'm not again, people don't take what I'm going to ask him wrong. I'm not getting after Craig. I really want to know this answer. Um, in your estimation, do you believe that emotion is required to be a follower of God? Do you are you of the belief that you are needing the emotional aspect of it in order to follow God fully? I don't not saying that you do. Because I think in a lot of ways you're at a benefit at a an advantage over most. I'll tell you why you're at an advantage. You can look at things now very cut and dry, black and white, and believe it as it is without the emotional baggage of saying, well, I feel. You can now look at things as it is for what he says and only what he says. That's an advantage. That is really an advantage. Um, because a lot of the times we will get sucked up in emotion, and emotions can cloudy things. But without it, you can look at what he says, take it for what it says, and not get caught up in your emotions. That's a positive thing. See, because like concepts like hell and heaven, they bring a lot of emotion. I don't want to end up in hell. Fear. Oh, I want to end up in heaven. Joy. Why? Why? Um, I see in the human realm, it can be a curse. Definitely can be a curse on the human level. Um, I can agree with that. Why not just focus on the fact that you have Jesus? You have access to God. You have the Holy Spirit. Why are we always so bogged down with the end? Christianity is about the journey of knowing God, not about the journey to heaven, not about the escape from hell. It is about the adventure of knowing God. People have mixed reactions about the shack. Um, I myself love the book. I myself love the book. Um, the book the problem people had with the book is that they mentioned God as a um, heavy set black woman in the kitchen, and Jesus was this carpenter's kind of Arabic man, and the spirit was a transparent, almost floating character. And people had issues with him putting God in the format of a female cooking. Now, if you read the book, you would understand why the the writer did this for Mac. Mac is the main character in the book. Mac had a caretaker when he was younger that was just like the person in the form of God. It was in an effort to make Mac feel comfortable. That was why the author presented God to Mac in a manner as that. He was not saying that God is a black female that cooks in the kitchen with an apron that looks like Aunt Jemima. That's not what he was saying. But very often, God will present himself to you in a manner that will get your attention because no one has ever seen it. Remember this. He will present himself to you in a manner that will be not appealing, but the one that you will feel comfortable with. It's called the shack. The shack. They made it into a movie. The movie wasn't nearly as good as my imagination. But I encourage you to read it, not for the fact that it's biblically law oriented, but when you understand, I'll give you the bigger premise. Mac was living in hell. Since we're talking about hell, Mac was living in hell. Mac went on, he had been having struggles with his marriage. He had been having struggles with his work. He'd been having struggles with self identification. He was just a lost man. And they went on a family trip. And in the process, they were near a lake. And they were all down by the lake except for his little girl, his daughter. His daughter ends up going missing. And when they eventually do find the daughter, she was found in this broken down old shack, beaten, abused, and killed. And Mac saw, he witnessed it. Not the act, but the body. It eventually put a rift in the family because no one in the family knew how to communicate their grief. The wife used to call God Papa all the time because that's how she communicated with God. She felt so close to him as though he was dad, right? Mac had no relationship, no proper relationship with God. And this did nothing to help. And so Mac was a complete wreck. Everything suffered around him. The relationship with the rest of his kids and the relationship with his wife all suffered. And then one day, he hears a voice. He gets a message saying to come to the shack, a little note that says, come to the shack. And he is mad because he's thinking probably this is the killer because they never caught the guy. So he takes off in the middle of winter to go to the shack. And he gets there. It's just an abandoned shack. And he falls asleep and wakes up. And he's in this wooded area, springtime. And he finds this other building. And in that building is this black woman. Mac's encounter with the different, I wouldn't call it personalities, but the different facets of God is a great analogy to how we as humans sometimes like to place God in different bodies. We see God sometimes in a fatherly role. We see him sometimes in a judging role. We see it in all kinds of ways. It doesn't change the true nature of God, but we have to experience God in every facet that he offers. That is the true journey that will lead you away from hell. The escape from hell is not the goal of heaven, and it's also not the goal of the walk. Hell shows you where you should be. The cross showed you that he saved you from that point, and then the walk shows you how to escape it by not focusing on it because you're no longer headed there. We acknowledge hell. Hell's there. We acknowledge the reality of it. Yes. We acknowledge that it will be very painful for those that end up there. Yeah. But that's not any way to live. That's not the way to live. I don't live by looking forward to my death. I do not live by looking forward to my death. I rob myself of life when I do that. I don't focus on my kids. I don't focus on my marriage. I don't focus on nothing because I'm too concerned with death. And I won't focus on God if I'm so caught up on life without him. If all my relationship is with God is his not being there, uh, am I really focusing on him? I mean, granted, I know I don't want to be without him, and that's going to be the obvious thing that happens as a result. It's like being in a marriage and just looking forward to the divorce in order to keep the marriage going. It's like focusing on divorce to keep the marriage alive. Well, I don't want to get divorced, so I'm going to do this. I don't want to get divorced, I'm going to do that. I don't want to get divorced, so I'm going to. Meanwhile, you could easily say, I love, I love, I love. And you get to know your spouse. And in getting to know your spouse, divorce doesn't even cross your mind. It's it's not even a thought process because you're not focused on that. You're too enamored with the relationship. You're too focused on the relationship to worry about divorce. And by proxy, the divorce never shows up because the love you have will make you work through any problems that could possibly lead to divorce. You're not going to deal with the problem because of divorce. You're going to deal with the problem because of love. Hell is there. Heaven is there. And there is a way to solidify your path to one or the other. The same way people that go to hell are not focused on the Christian life being the opposite, the same way we should be focused on the fact that we're not looking at hell in order to continue the Christian walk. Growing up, remember being told that if you focus on the bad, usually the bad thing is going to happen. When you focus on the negative stuff happens. I'm not quite sure why we as believers aren't willing to apply that to our walk. It's the same premise I see with signs and wonders and end time prophecies. A lot of us can get bogged down with the prophecy and when it's going to happen and what is the real prophecy, and you're not even focused on a relationship with the God of the universe that's going to end up doing this. It, if I am cool with God, I don't got to worry about the end times. If I'm cool with God, I don't got to worry about hell. If I'm cool with God, I don't got to worry about prophecies. I don't have to worry about none of it. He will keep me when that day comes. He promised that. He promised us that. People think, oh, that's the power of positive thinking. No, no, it's not. It's not. It's not the power of positive anything. That is the power of God that can save. The same reason I tell you not to focus so much on the fact that the cross, and you dwell at the foot of the cross and the foot of the cross, the foot of the cross, so much so that you never leave. God's already gone, right? There's no one up on the cross. You're just focused on the cross, on the cross, on the cross. No one's on there. He is no longer on the cross, but you're focused on the cross. He's beckoning you to him now to come through the cross to him. You're still on the outside looking at the cross, enamored with the cross. The cross, just like hell, is not the focus. It is the linchpin, the kickstarter. When you are lost, you see your end, hell. When you get saved, you see the reason, the pathway through. But you don't stay at the foot, crucifying him over every day. It is done. He said it, it's finished. The pathway is made, the avenue is there. That's your route. It's only a pass through. Just a pass through. Nothing else. Not a dwelling spot. And for anyone who might take what I just said out of context, the cross is the most pivotal moment in human history. It was the most pivotal moment in spiritual and human history. But it is not our dwelling spot, it is our launching pad. It's the launching pad. What about the subject of hell? Not how to get there, but what we do in life on the other subject, but on the subject itself. Um, if you can clarify that for me, I can't. Maybe I'm not keeping up with the conversations in the chat, but if you can clarify that for me, Philip, that'd be great. Um, One should not totally focus on either. We may have our destiny. We need awareness of heaven and of hell. A person can also be so heaven bound that they are of no earthly use. Um, while we may have our destiny, we need awareness of heaven and hell. Um, do you believe that we need awareness of heaven and hell all the time? Do you need? Just a question. Do you think we need a reminder every time that heaven's in the future and hell is in the past? Do we need a reminder of that every time? Um, because I don't think I need to know that I'm going to hell. The same way I don't think I need to know where heaven's going to end up being. The easiest way I can think of putting this is like this: when I'm entering a building and I encounter the door locked, and then someone comes up behind me with a key and unlocks the door for me and opens it, and I can go into the building, I don't spend my time hovering around the door, relishing the fact that I got in the building through that door. Yet the door got open, and I thank the person for opening that door. But they had a plan. They want to show me the whole building. They want to introduce me to every room, all of it. Not stay at the door, go into the building. If I'm in the middle of him showing me the building, I keep telling him, "Man, that door was locked. You know, that door was locked. It was locked, and you unlocked it, and you kept." He's gonna say, "But we're okay. I get you. The door was locked, but I'm trying to show you the wonders of this building. I need you to. Okay, good. The door was locked. I unlocked it. You're in here now. Focus. I'm trying to show you the rest of the building. The same way, if outside there was a fire and it's coming at me, and there's a house that is completely fireproof. The person that has the key to the home is ahead of me and opens the door, lets me in, and closes the door behind me. And if all I do is stand at the door looking through the window at the fire, oh, fire, man, there's so much fire outside. Fire, fire, yeah, fire. Meanwhile, the person in the house is telling you, come and sit and talk with me. The house is fine. I built it to withstand anything. You're good. You're safe here. Come talk to me. And all you can do is look back and say, man, but look out there. Look at the fire out there. I am glad I'm not going back into that fire, man. I'm glad that I escaped that fire. And you spend your whole time there, you never get to know the person that let you in. The Christian journey has 2 points. You get to realize that you're bound for hell as a result of who you are. The second phase is realizing that Jesus made a way for you to no longer have that consequence by passing through the cross. That is it. Hell is real. It is reserved for Satan and his minions, and for those unbelievers and the haters of God. If you want to continue looking at it, look at it and miss out the relationship. If you want to keep looking at heaven, you're still not focused on the relationship. It isn't the focus. What am I missing here? Hang on. You're speaking of those who don't understand the subject. We understand, but if I have someone watch this video who doesn't understand it, for sure we can understand this video on the subject, but I couldn't share it to those who don't. Why not? What exactly is missing for those who don't understand, and what exactly don't they understand? I just want to make sure we leave with clarification. I don't want to leave with questions. I really want that cleared up. So please explain to me what is unclear, because I want to make sure that it's clear. I don't want to have the um, uncertainty. So what exactly would what in your estimation would make this video clearer? Is focus and concentration is focus as concentration or code for faith? Um, faith and focus are not the same. Um, let's put it like this. I'm not agreeing with anybody in the chat section that said that, Philip. I just want clarification from you about what you need clarification on from me. That's all I want. Um, my faith in God is solidified by time with Him. Okay. But in order to put in time with Him, I need to focus on time with Him. I need to hone my time, make it intentional focus. My faith will then be really, really substantiated by time with God. An initial faith to bring you to the knowledge of God is one thing. Sustained faith happens when you focus and spend time with God. You get to, if that makes sense. The same way that we make all kinds of time for activities in life, learning a skill, you spend time doing the skill in order to perfect it till it becomes second nature. You do it until it becomes second nature. But you make time to get it. You make time. You set time aside. A good basketball player, like my kid, my 17-year-old, he's always at the gym. He is practicing shot after shot after shot after shot after shot after. He is just constantly. Why? Because he wants to perfect his craft. He makes the time to go to the gym, injured, tired, hung, whatever. His goal is to be the best possible basketball player. So he makes the time. And as he makes the time, his skills improve. And when he sees the improvement of his skills, his faith in his skills are there. It's there. The exact same way with the relationship with God. Belief brings you to Him, faith is sustained by time with Him. But you have to focus your time on Him. It is an intentional, the same way Peter decided to take his eyes off. He did not focus, he did not intentionally stare at Jesus. The same way we can get that exact same way by taking our eyes off and becoming complacent and looking elsewhere. Look to the signs and wonders, look to heaven, look to hell. And all the while, he's just asking us to focus on him and let him take care of the big stuff. That's all he's asking you to do. This concept of hell will take care of itself. The end of disobedience is hell. The end of relationship is heaven. But you can't get to either by focusing. Well, you can get to hell by focusing on hell. That's the fastest way to get to hell. You won't be able to get to heaven that way. You can't avoid hell by focusing on hell. And you can't get to heaven by focusing on heaven. You can't avoid hell by focusing on hell, and you can't get to heaven by focusing on heaven. Because the one who is responsible for both body and soul ending up in the lake of fire is God. And he's the one that you need to have the relationship with, no one else. He is the linchpin. He's the launching pad. He's the focal point, all of it. So if I were to talk to a non believer about hell, I don't have to talk to them about hell. Why do I say that? Hell is not a scary thing for people who are content with the way they live. Hell is not scary to people who are living the way they want. Just describe hell to anyone that you think's a non-believer that loves the way they live. Describe hell to them and see if they flinch. See if they flinch. Now, on the other hand, if you tell them about God, about who God is, about what he did, and then say, and if you don't believe any of that, ask him. If you don't believe anything I just said, I will dare you. I will put a dare to you. You like adventure? I dare you. How about you ask God to show himself to you? Go ahead. I dare you. Because you know what can't show themselves to them? Hell. Hell can't show themselves. But God can. When God enters the room and makes himself known, what he does at first is show you your state. When he shows you your state and him in comparison, then you realize your next step. Hell is not going to keep you sustained in your walk. For some, hell will be the scaring tactic they need to turn to God. But a lot of people that come because of hell stay because of hell. A lot of people that come to God because of hell stay because of hell. And they never come to fruition in their relationship. Speaking to a non believer is difficult because in today's age, they have been inundated with the idea that all they have to do is be good, be nice, and that's the measure of a Christian. But here's the thing, Philip. Here's the thing. You cannot force them by fear or any other measure to take a step that they are not willing to take. And that's okay. This is why it's okay. Here's why it's okay. God is never going to force you into subserviency or force you into loving him or force you into following. That's not his style. You browbeating a family member or a friend or a non believer by constantly reminding them of where they are is not going to win them a relationship with God. What it will do is sow a lot of anger between you. I have a friend who is not a Christian. Good guy, not a Christian. Um, he knows what I believe. He has lots of people around him, but he is not at a location where he will give his life to God. He has a lot of hurt from things that have happened to him, not by the church, just in life. What I don't do is remind him of his end path. Trust me, it's in his mind. But until he relinquishes the control to God, nothing can happen. Regardless of how many times I mention hell or how many times I mention heaven, if he is not willing to hand up the reins, none of it matters. You still have the choice. But with the choice comes the consequence or comes the reward. And you have to get to the point where you're okay with that because it's not your life to live. You're doing exactly what God asked you to do: be the light, be an example, and tell others. Remember, he sent his disciples not to browbeat people in towns. He said, if you go there and you tell them and they don't accept it, dust off your feet and dip. He didn't tell them to stay there and keep repeating it, repeating it, repeating it until they listen and then you leave. He never said that. He said, when you go, whoever takes you in, good. If they don't, don't. If you talk to them, they don't want to hear, they don't hear, move on. Dust your feet off and dip out. Don't plant your ground there. That if they don't hear, they don't hear. It- Everyone will be without excuse because they were told, they heard, and they chose. And they choose with the knowledge of hell and heaven, but they choose. You have to be okay with that. You can't force them. You can't bring them to the you nothing. Nothing you do is going to make them do any of the things that you think the Christian should be. None. If hell is your reason for following God, I would ask you sincerely to reevaluate your motivation. Reevaluate your motivation. I'm not saying that to not be afraid of hell. Yeah, because it's real. But then be thankful that you're not going there and move on speaking with your Father. If you are a non believer and you're wondering what all this Christianity thing is about, here's my advice to you: challenge him to show himself to you, challenge him to make himself known to you. But in that, keep your eyes open. Because remember, you're asking him to make himself known. And when he does make himself known, You're the one that put the challenge out. Be aware enough to understand when he does, because he will make it very plain. He does not sit you around with this stuff. He if you ask him to make himself known, trust and believe he will. He will. But then you can be like, I know I see that, but yeah, yeah, I know that's you, but still, nah. Focus on your relationship with God. God will take care of the rest. He really does. I mentioned the story about my son before, and I will mention it again. When I took my hands off the problem, God fixed the problem. When I took my worry, when I took my stressor off of it, when I stopped worrying about what's going to happen, when I stopped all that and I said, I'm done, I give up. If he comes around, it'll be because of you. I'm not doing anything anymore. When I did that, he did just that. He was faithful because it's his work he's trying to make himself famous. This is about him. He's just trying to get me out the way. If I would stop messing up his plan by putting my foot in my mouth and putting myself in his way, if I'd stop doing that, the amount of stuff he could accomplish. There's a song, a little chorus. I'm going to read it here. The chorus is what really gets me. Okay, so I'm going to copy it here and paste it there. This part right here. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Very simple, very direct, very true. If you just turn your eyes to him, nothing else on earth will matter because he got it. He's got it. The earth is his, the heavens are his, and everything in it is his. It's all his. It's his to control if we would relinquish our seeming control over it. Hell, while it may be real, is only our launching point to belief in God and the reality of his sacrifice. And then the sacrifice is the reality of our entrance into the kingdom. And while we're in that kingdom, we focus on God. And he takes care of everything else. Because he will. He does. It's what he does, it's who he is. Tomorrow, we have uh, another topic of, well, I consider it great import. Um, we're going to be talking about the Sabbath. When is the real Sabbath? When is the real Sabbath? It's not just you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Um, Last question. Do you believe the Holy Spirit has to draw someone to accept Christ, or can anyone repeat a prayer without the Holy Spirit convicting them and become a child of God? One cannot become a child of God without belief. It's not possible at all. Because your question is, can one repeat a prayer without the Holy Spirit convicting them and become? If you are not convicted, what are you praying about? If there is no conviction about who you are, why are you praying? A true repentant heart understands the gravity of their sin, broken and contrite. If you don't see how messed up you are, you will never fully grasp the sacrifice. And you can't grasp the sacrifice without the Spirit. You can't. It's not possible. It's not possible. When God puts something in place, the order must be maintained. When He gets a hold of your heart, He shows you who you are without Him. And when you finally see who you are without Him, you have nothing more but to depend on Him fully 100% because you realize without Him, you are trash. You are worthless. You're rags. When you see who you are before Him, that is when true repentance happens. And when true repentance happens, you realize I have to leave that behind, die to self, rise with Christ. It all happens because you see yourself, you see it. You see it. So, no, not some random prayer without conviction, never happened, will never happen. You're not saved. You'll continue to live the way you lived because you don't understand what's right and what's wrong. There's no conviction about right and wrong. None. Why do you think so many Christians today are so confused? Why do you think they're so confused about what's right and what's wrong? No true conviction. No true conviction exists. So what they continue doing is the things that they have been, change one or two things, and then when they fully give into the stuff they didn't change, they wonder why. No full conviction has happened. No true conviction. True conviction ushers in the need for God. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. You beg to differ. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that who believes in him should not perish but have eternal life." Believe what? Believe what about him? I'm going to ask you that. What does it mean to believe in him? I'll let you answer that one. What does it mean for you to believe in him? I'll wait. What does it mean? What does believing in him means? What does it mean? What are you believing in? What are you believing in? What does that entail? What are you believing in? If you can answer that, believing in Him, to trust in Him implicitly in everything, what are you believing in? You're not answering my question. You say that it doesn't, all you have to do is believe. I'm asking you, what are you believing? What did He do? What did He do? And what did He do it for? And if you can answer me what He did and what He did it for, you have your answer as to why you need more than just belief. He did something. He did something very specific in order for you to have salvation. It was very specific. And He did it for a very specific reason. But if you can't see the reason for His sacrifice, how are you going to believe it? You can't believe it if it doesn't have a reason. Why did He sacrifice Himself? You're just going to believe that He sacrificed Himself for what? What did He do it for? If you don't see your state, the sacrifice means nothing. You cannot accept a sacrifice for something you don't think you need sacrificing for. I did do a lesson on this. If you believe in Him, it means you're believing everything He is and did. And in order for that to exist, you have to see yourself before Him to understand the sacrifice He did, hence why you need to believe. You can't have it without it. It is not possible. Otherwise, you're just believing some statement about God without knowing God. Oh, He sacrifices His son for me. For what? Oh, because he could. He wanted to save the world. From what? I don't know. He just wanted to save the world. What from what? You know, from you know, yeah. Yeah, no. You see your state before God, rags, worthless, sinful. You see your state before the cross, bought for, paid for with the blood. Accept it. Leave the old behind. Move forward. You cannot understand fully the sacrifice without fully understanding your place before God. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Sabbath day tomorrow. The day after that, we'll be talking about where Cain found his wife. Where did Cain find his wife? On Friday, and tomorrow we'll be talking about the Sabbath. So you have the rest of the week laid out. On Monday, I have a journey. Someone signed up for a journey, so we'll be doing one Monday. Um, so look forward to that. And I'll have the rest of the week laid out by Friday, so you guys can have that topics. So um, I appreciate everyone, those who agreed and disagreed. Appreciate all of you. Um, if you do nothing else today, uh, spend some time thanking Him for who He is. Just spend some time thanking him. Nothing else, just thanking him. Just spend time thanking him. Wisdom is calling to you guys from the streets. So please, 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 find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and know